Radio Network.
Fabulous.
Live every Sunday with the very latest food, beverage, and travel trends.
Amazing.
Now here's the host of our show, Mr. Randall White.
And a very good day, everyone. Great to have you with us here for the Eat, Drink, Explore, hour number 2 today. I'm your host, Randall White, and we are coming to you live from California's Central Coast. This is where California comes to talk about the very latest food, beverage, and travel trends. News and information that affects your leisure time. Hey, we want you to get the most out of your California lifestyle and to do it with a splash of panache. What does that mean exactly? I'm the one that wrote it, but it is a fancy pants word, as our friend and audio director Anthony Renaro just said in my ear. Patty Pyburn joins me. If you're watching us online right now via the Eat, Drink, Explore video simulcast, she is on my... Let's see, what would that be? On my left. I'm looking at the screen and everything's reversed and I'm not exactly sure.
That's a little tricky. Hey, panache it connotes a flamboyant manner and reckless courage.
Oh.
That's panache.
Well,
now you know.
I guess we are doing it with a splash of that.
A dash of flamboyant style in action.
Yes. Hey, straight ahead on the program today, Miss Pyburn, and to all of our fabulous listeners, we are headed to Santa Catalina Island off the coast of Los Angeles. I believe directly off the coast of Long Beach is how you get there. And I've never been before, but it is one of the Channel Islands that are out quite a ways off the coast. Some of them you can see from land as you pass through Santa Barbara and Ventura. But Catalina is farther south, and it's the only inhabited island with Avalon is there, and lots to do. I decided instead of talking to a hotel or visitor convention bureau there on the island that we would, for our travel segment, bring in the Island Conservancy, and boy, basically it was these big families on the island, as I understand it, that had... owned a lot of land and stuff, and they donated a lot of their land because they wanted to preserve the island, as is. Interesting stuff there regarding the fox. There's a fox that lives on the island.
Cute little fox. I've seen one. I've actually held and petted one at the Santa Barbara Zoo. They're so cute.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
And then also...
the Channel Island fox.
The Channel Island fox, yeah. And then buffalo there that I understand are under birth control. No, I'm serious. So anyway, we'll learn more about that.
Buffalo population boom.
And there's a trail that goes from one end to the other. Then at the bottom of the hour, it is all about restaurant wages and tipping and those sorts of things. A wonderful woman joins us, Saru, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Jayaraman. Will join us. She's with the Food Labor Research Center out of UC Berkeley, and boy, she has a book called Behind the Kitchen Door that is extremely revealing.
Cool.
And she joins us with a lot of information regarding that. So if you work within the industry, or if you dine out, and I think that pretty much covers everyone that's listening right now, you will want to stay tuned for that. Then we round out the hour with California's fourth largest, and I hope I have that number right, fourth largest craft brewery, Firestone Walker, which is based in Paso Robles. They're expanding again, and this time they're expanding to the south in the Venice Beach area with another brewery, another big food operation as well. And so there appears to be no stopping Firestone Walker. We will speak to the Walker of Firestone Walker. David Walker joins us on the line today to tell us about all of their big plans, their big plans.
Very cool.
But right now, it is time to get the latest news and information from our lovely Patty Pyburn. Patty?
It is time for the latest food, beverage, and travel news from the Eat, Drink, Explore news desk on this Sunday morning.
Sorry, I had to go run over there and
hit that music.
It's just not the same without the intense pulse in the background.
Gotta have the news music. All right, so California's rimfire is at 250,000 acres burned so far. It is the third largest blaze in state history, and it may have been caused by a hunter's illegal fire that was allowed to get out of control. Now, the U.S. Forest Service says no arrests have been made at this point. There were earlier reports that this fire may have been caused by a marijuana grow. That turns out not to be the case. Fire management crews are concerned that this massive wildfire could begin to grow rapidly once again. This is because of hot, dry weather this weekend. Containment currently is at 80%. Full containment is expected Friday, September 20th. Now, there is a community meeting scheduled tonight at 6 in the Sierra town of Twain Harte, and fire officials will be there answering public questions about this huge fire directly. The world's largest cruise line says it will cut the amount of air pollution belching from 32 of its ships, starting with a retrofit of 9 of those ships next year. In a letter to the Environmental Protection Agency, Carnival says it will install scrubbers and filters similar to the kinds used at coal-burning power plants to clean the exhaust from the ship's engines. Carnival, like many cruise lines, burns heavy oil or bunker fuel. That's how it powers its fleet, and this fuel is one of the dirtiest and cheapest forms of fuel available. Now, the company's attempt to conform to new EPA sulfur emission standards, this is considered to be a trial program. Now, Carnival is the parent company for Princess, Holland America, Seabourn, Cunard, and several other international cruise ship lines, including Costa.
Yeah, it's
like it's
like a never-ending list. I know.
That's a lot of ships.
I'm glad to see that they're doing something. I feel guilty when I get on those cruise ships because of
they're a lot of fun, but
so good. I'm good for them. They're sort of being forced into it, but I'm glad it's happening.
Good move, Carnival. All right, dog lovers and naturalists and those who just enjoy some of the Bay Area's most popular beaches and trails will be affected by some new rules being proposed by the National Park Service. An update to the dog management plan was issued Friday. It details new guidelines and restrictions throughout the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, including popular dog spots like Muir Beach and Crissy Field. Now, the current update is still a long way from becoming policy. There's a public comment period that's going to take place starting next spring, and any final rules will not go into place until winter 2015. Now, dog owners say the proposals are far more restrictive than they need to be. Recreation officials say they are just trying to address a growing number of visitors to the area and reduce the number of conflicts being reported. All right, we'll see how that shapes out.
Yeah, right. I want to see the public comment period because if anyone's passionate, dog owners are.
They are, and it's so much fun to take your dogs to the beach. And, you know, obviously, if it's contained, then it can work for everyone.
As I understand it, with an article I read in the San Francisco Chronicle, Muir Beach in Marin County has always been an off-leash beach. Dogs will still be allowed there, but they'll have to be on leash, which at a beach is...
That's kind of tough.
Yeah, so...
It's nice to have that option to let your dogs run free and frolic and...
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see how that pans out. Okay, NFL's regular season kicked off Thursday night. If you weren't aware. Today is the day that most of us will get to see our teams play. The San Francisco 49ers are taking to the field at Candlestick Park to take on the Green Bay Packers at 1:25 this afternoon. Randall, how does that work for you?
I have a lot of friends that are Green Bay Packer fans.
You have friends on both sides. You lived in Wisconsin for what, 7?
Yeah, about 7 years.
Yeah.
But I never wavered with my.
You were still true blue to
49ers. Yeah. But it'll be interesting. Depending on the outcome of the game, I'll get a lot of calls or I'll hear a lot of silence.
The Raiders are playing in Indianapolis at 10. San Diego is hosting Houston tomorrow night.
All righty, Patty. It's also National Date Nut Bread Day.
Yes.
All right, everyone, stick around. We're back in just a moment. We're headed to Santa Catalina Island.
The award-winning Sunset Savor the Central Coast is once again set to highlight San Luis Obispo County this September 26th to the 29th. Many of your favorite events are returning to the lineup, as well as some new ways to play. Don't miss Sunset in the Vineyard on Saturday, September 28th at the Vina Robles Amphitheater. Start the night under a star-filled Paso Robles sky with a food and wine reception. Celebrity chef Michael Voltaggio will be on hand for a special book signing, and Grammy Award-winning Kobe Calais will perform her hit songs. Also new this year is the Savor Run, a 5 and 10K run or walk through downtown San Luis Obispo on Sunday, September 29th. A portion of your entry fee for this event helps rehabilitate local cancer survivors. For these events and more ways to play at this year's Sunset Savor the Central Coast, visit savorcentralcoast.com.
Gary and Marcy Eberly of Eberly Winery invite you to a Harvest Festival dinner in the Caves with Top Chef Trey Wilcox. Friday, October 18th at 6 p.m. Chef Trey Wilcox has won numerous awards, both locally and nationally, and was named one of Food and Wine's best new chefs. Wilcox is all too familiar with the world of chefs and their egos. He was on Top Chef after all, but has no patience with famous for being famous shtick. He would rather just be known for his cooking, and his food is delicious. A perfect blend with Eberly's award-winning wines in the backdrop of their famous caves. Get ready for an amazing dining experience during Harvest Festival. Call Eberly Winery today. 238-9607. That's 238-9607. Dinner in the Caves at Eberly Winery with Top Chef Trey Wilcox. For more information, log on to eberlywinery.com. Dinner in the Caves on Friday, October 18th during Harvest Festival at Eberly. Located on Highway 46, just 3 miles east of the 101 in the heart of Paso Robles wine country.
The Eat, Drink, Explore Media radio show you are currently enjoying is in a local affiliate commercial break. Live programming will return shortly. Did you know you can watch a live video simulcast of our Sunday morning and Thursday evening shows from your computer, smartphone, or tablet device? And to top it off, it's free. Simply head to eatdrinkexplore.com or download our free app from the Google Play or Apple App Store. If you have a suggestion for an upcoming guest segment, send an email to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. We're always looking for fresh ideas, including yours. We love to share fresh, local, organic, seasonal, and sustainable ideas throughout the week. And the best place to find those are on our Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook feeds. Our username across the social networking universe is simple: Eat, Drink, Explore, all one word. Hey, college students, Eat, Drink, Explore Media is always looking for qualified journalism or marketing interns. Send us an email today so we can check your status and put you on the list for upcoming intern vacancies. Would you like to hear this Eat, Drink, Explore radio program on one of your local radio stations? Let the station know and contact us as well so we can get the ball rolling. Okay, you made it. The local affiliate commercial break is now over. Time for more informative and entertaining programming from Eat, Drink, Explore Media. Thank you for your patience.
You've waited all week, and it's finally here. The Eat, Drink, Explore Weekly Travel Deals Extravaganza.
Yes, it is indeed. 9:19 the time. Great to have you with us, everyone, on this Sunday FUNDAY morning. I'm your host, Randall White, joined by Patty Pyburn, and we are going to dive right into it. Right off the coast of Santa Catalina Island there to welcome our guest, Scott Dennis. He is with the Catalina Island Conservancy. You can get more information at catalinaconservancy.org. Welcome to the program, Scott.
Thanks, Randall.
Yeah, nice to have you here. And so I've never been to any of the Channel Islands, and I imagine Santa Catalina is one of the farthest south. Is that right?
Well, actually, one of the farthest south United States ones. There's also a chain of Mexican Catalina Islands as well, or Channel Islands.
Channel Islands. Oh, interesting, because Patty and I took a cruise down to Mexico, and I did see, you see some of those islands as you're heading south into Mexico. I didn't realize that was all part of the same chain. So,
yeah, we're the most visited, though. We get about 1 million visitors a year, which is by far and away much higher than any other island.
The only inhabited island, right, that has like a full-time...
Yeah, for the most part. There are little outposts and nature monitoring stations and things on some of the other islands, but we're the only one with cities.
I love it. So let's talk about one of your big highlights. Patty loves this one because she's actually petted some of the Channel Island foxes before.
They're so cute.
They are so cute.
Let's talk about the foxes. They were saved from near extinction, were they not?
Yes. We had a crash back in 1999-2000, which took our fox population from around the 1,500 and up range down to less than 100. And it was traced back to a canine distemper virus, possibly brought in either from a dog or maybe even from a raccoon that was carrying it. So we instituted a major captive breeding program and vaccination program and radio collar monitoring of the ones that were still out there. And now I'm happy to report, like 12 years later, we're back about over 1,500 island-wide, and they're all over the place now. You can see them on a regular basis popping their little heads out, when you're out walking.
They are really cute. Now, I remember there was a problem with the feral pigs. Is that not on Catalina Island, though? That was Santa Cruz
Those were all
Island?
removed back in around 1999, 2000 as well.
Did they have an impact on the foxes?
Not so much on foxes, but they had a huge impact on the native plants.
Okay, just the
They were
ecosystem in
just
general.
rooting out everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because the foxes or the pigs, the goats and the sheep, those were all removed. Those were all brought in for ranching purposes back in the 20s and 30s, and the one non-native two major non-native animals that we still have here are the bison, of course, and the deer, which were also brought in for hunting purposes. The bison were not brought in for hunting, though. They were brought in as part of a silent film in 1924.
Oh.
Surprisingly, they never made it into the final footage, but the
gosh.
producer was kind of cheap and just never shipped them back. And over time, they grew to like over 600, and I believe it was 2003 that we had to ship like over 400 of them off the island. And we sent them to a very grateful Native American reservation, the Rosebud Reservation up in South Dakota. So,
cool.
That
they're
is
still
cool.
up there.
The ones there on
they
the
have
island.
a new home to roam.
Right. The ones there on the island, I understand, are practicing safe sex with birth control.
Yeah, well, we tried all the other things, including whining and dining them, but it didn't work. So now they get darted.
Okay. And that's keeping the population down to like a safe level.
It allows for anywhere between 1 to 6 new calves a year, which is pretty, in keeping with the mortality rate from natural causes. So it's pretty good. This year we only had 1 calf.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Last year we had 4 or 5, but this year we only had 1. So we're now selectively not darting a certain very fertile group to see how well the reversal. This is a fully reversible process. You just skip a year, and supposedly the female becomes fertile again.
Back they come again. So let's talk about visitors to the island now and some of the things they can do. And as I understand it, there is a trail called the Trans Catalina Trail that literally takes you from one end of the island to the other, the long way.
Yes, from right outside of Avalon and our Renton Mine Trail, that connects to 37 and a half other miles, takes you through 5 beautiful campgrounds.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say 37 miles?
37 and a half miles.
Wow.
And yeah, the island is a long island, and this kind of snakes its way through, so it adds a little distance. But it goes through 5 campgrounds. People can do the whole thing, or they can do parts of it. There's some great day hikes along the trail too. So
that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's long. The island is long and thin, right? There's an isthmus at one point that it's just like a half mile or so.
Yeah, it's 100 yards basically.
Oh,
a football field between. So.
Wow. So it's really almost sort of like 2 islands connected by a little land bridge.
It is, and that little land bridge is what saved the foxes, because all the foxes north of that were not used to coming down through the isthmus, and the infected population was below the isthmus. So it was the healthy foxes on the west end, we call it, the north tip, that allowed us to start the captive breeding program.
We think of getting to the island by boat, but some people fly into the island.
Mm-hmm. We have an airport in the sky. It's a beautiful little airport. It's got a little nature center there, a great restaurant, great for sightseeing. There's a little 2-mile family-friendly hiking trail, and it even goes through an archaeological site. It's an old soapstone quarry from the Tongva tribe. And you can actually see where they were trying to get one of the bowls out of the soapstone. It's pretty cool.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And the the hangar there has been restored recently, it looks like?
Yeah, it's been restored. It originally was in the Hamilton Cove area down near Avalon, and it was taken up there, sometime I believe in the 40s. But yeah, it's been completely restored. It looks beautiful.
So I'm going back to the trail. I'm really intrigued by this.
Me too. I really want to do it. This is now on my bucket list.
It sounds so cool. So if you were going to go along and kind of pace yourself and stop at the campgrounds, how many days would a typical trek take from one end to the other end?
To do it really comfortably?
Yes, comfortably. I'm all about comfort.
Comfortable 4 or 5 days.
Oh my God,
that's a perfect week vacation right there. And then spend a couple days in Avalon enjoying.
A couple days, on the weekend, so you can party a little.
Right.
And there are campgrounds along the way, so you don't have to completely rough it.
There's one just north of Avalon, which is our, it's not our city campground, but it's close. And then there are 4 other campgrounds all the way out to Parsons Landing, which is up in the West End.
It sounds really cool. Now, so
you can see all this on the maps on our website, by the way.
That's what I was looking at while you and Randall were talking. I was looking at your website.
CatalinaConservancy.org.
Yeah. If you don't want to do it that way, by foot or by bike, there are Jeep tours, right?
We do have Jeep Eco tours, anywhere from 2 hours all the way up to a full 7-hour full-day experience. Best guides, best vehicles. They're brand new 2012 customized Jeeps with a seat up to 6. Our 2-hour tour is basically, a sampler tour, but if you take the 3, 4, or longer hour tours, you can really get a good feel for a lot of the interior.
We should also mention that we only have about 30 seconds left to talk about this, but you're just off the coast of Los Angeles, so what would you be if you didn't have a film fest?
That's right.
And coming up, the 3rd annual one with Sharon Stone, Jon Favreau, several other stars as well.
That's coming up, next week, actually. The week after this coming week, the 17th through the 22nd. So, it's lots of exciting things going on. Check that out. That's at Catalina Film Fest. Let's see, CatalinaFilm.org is their website.
CatalinaFilm.org, and you have an old theater there too, right outside Avalon. That's beautiful old theater from the good old days of Hollywood. Well, Scott Dennis with the Catalina Island Conservancy. Find them online at CatalinaConservancy.org. Scott, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great rest of your Sunday. All right.
Thank you.
We're back in just a moment, everyone. We are talking wages within the food industry. You're listening to Eat, Drink, Explore.
Luna Red Restaurant in downtown San Luis Obispo is the perfect spot for a weekend brunch offered every Saturday and Sunday from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Enjoy farm-to-table breakfast plates such as the Ribbit Benedicts, Mission Steak and Eggs, and quinoa waffles topped with fresh market berries. Or opt for a lunch plate such as the grilled Asian-style fish taco salad or the roast chicken bacon avocado sandwich. Lounge on the sunny patio with views of the historical Mission Plaza while savoring our bottomless mimosas offered from 9:30 a.m. to noon. Hang out on Sunday afternoons from 3 to 5 p.m. and catch our live music on the patio during $5 happy hour. Luna Red also accommodates large parties, so call us today to make a reservation. Follow us on Facebook for daily specials and visit our website, lunaredslo.com, to view current seasonal menus, our live music schedule, or check out our happy hour offerings. Luna Red is located at 1023 Choro Street at the corner of Monterey. Come to be fulfilled.
May is National Bike Month. Now, I used to be intimidated at the thought of biking to work. I worried about my outfit, the traffic, and the time. But my expanding waistline and rising gas prices helped me rethink that position. And last May, I tried riding to work. What an amazing change. In the years since I started riding to work, I lost weight, saved money on gas, and canceled my gym membership. You should try it. Here are a few tips to help you get started. Alter your route for biking. Cars and bikes are both vehicles and both have a right to the road, but you'll feel more comfortable and more able to enjoy your ride if you choose less traveled streets. Ride with a friend the first few times, someone who has experience biking to work. They'll help you figure out how to carry your clothes, where to park your bike, and the easiest way to get to the office. Follow all the same rules you follow while driving. Signal before you turn, stop at all stop signs, and stay in the rightmost lane going in your direction. Biking to work is fun, easy, and enjoyable. Try it. For more tips and techniques on how to commute by bicycle or to find other cyclists in your area, visit bikeleague.org.
The Eat, Drink, Explore Media radio show you are currently enjoying is in a local affiliate commercial break. Live programming will return shortly. Did you know you can watch a live video simulcast of our Sunday morning and Thursday evening shows from your computer, smartphone, or tablet device? And to top it off, it's free. Simply head to eatdrinkexplore.com or download our free app from the Google Play or Apple App Store. If you have a suggestion for an upcoming guest segment, send an email to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. We're always looking for fresh ideas, including yours. We love to share fresh, local, organic, seasonal, and sustainable ideas throughout the week. And the best place to find those are on our Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook feeds. Our username across the social networking universe is simple: Eat, Drink, Explore, all one word. Hey, college students, Eat, Drink, Explore Media is always looking for qualified journalism or marketing interns. Send us an email today so we can check your status and put you on the list for upcoming intern vacancies. Would you like to hear this Eat, Drink, Explore radio program on one of your local radio stations? Let the station know and contact us as well so we can get the ball rolling. Okay, you made it. The local affiliate commercial break is now over. Time for more informative and entertaining programming from Eat, Drink, Explore Media. Thank you for your patience. And welcome back to the program, everyone. Great to have you with us as always. I am your host, Randall White. 33 minutes past the hour now, 9:33 on this beautiful Sunday morning. Sunday Fun Day, as we like to call it. And as many of you know, I've mentioned from time to time that aside from the past 20 years of being in journalism, radio and television broadcasting, prior to that, I was in the restaurant business, working my way up from a busser. My very first job, I was a busser. Became a food server and then eventually a bartender and a restaurant manager. And I can tell you that I had some really great bosses along the way and terrific experiences. And I had some not so great. You know, there were periods where I thought this just isn't right. And of course, all those years in that industry, I spoke with many people who, you know, worked at competing restaurants and such. It's a pretty tight-knit group of people. And heard some really interesting stories. And so the other day I was listening to one of my favorite talk shows, and I heard this woman who is the author of a book, Behind the Kitchen Door, Saru Jayaraman. She is with, she's the director of the Food Labor Research Center. I believe that's at UC Berkeley, and also part of an organization called Rock United. You can find more information at rockunited.org. She really has some insight into this industry, and not all of it pleasant. Saru, welcome to the program.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So what was behind your book? What made you feel you needed to come up with this book, Behind the Kitchen Door, and what were you trying to expose?
Yeah, well, we've been organizing restaurant workers for the last 12 years. Started the organization just after 9/11, actually, with workers who had lost their jobs at Windows on the World, the restaurant at the top of the World Trade Center. And we've grown really rapidly into a national organization now with about 10,000 members in 32 cities nationwide. And through that process, have learned that the restaurant industry is actually the second largest and fastest growing employer in the United States. It's one of the only industries to grow over the last couple of years of economic crisis. And yet it happens to be the absolute lowest paying employer in the United States. So 7 of the 11 lowest paying jobs and the 2 absolute lowest paying jobs in America are restaurant jobs. And so as we learned more and more about just incredibly low wages, poverty wages, really lack of benefits that impact our meals as diners. And as we grew and consumers would ask, how can we help? How can we support? We realized that we really needed to document what was happening in the industry, to let people know what was happening behind the kitchen door, metaphorically, not just in kitchens, but frankly in the industry that really is very invisible to people who eat out, and what consumers can do to change it, because a key theme of the book is how these poverty wages and lack of benefits really impact every single one of us every time we eat out.
And so what did you find? How can consumers play a part in this role? One way that consumers play a part is by tipping.
Yes, that's right.
Certainly plays a huge role, I remember very well. But is it something where they need to be vocal when they go out to eat?
So absolutely. It's interesting that you brought up tipping, because a key thing that I talk about in my book that most people don't know is that in the United States, the minimum wage for tipped workers at the federal level has been stuck at $2.13 an hour for the last 22 years.
Wow.
And it's not an accident. It's not just organic, the law of nature. It's because of the power of the industry lobby, the National Restaurant Association, which represents all the Fortune 500 restaurant corporations. And back in 1996, under the leadership of Herman Cain, who then later tried to run for president, the NRA actually struck a deal with Congress saying that they wouldn't oppose an increase to the overall minimum wage as long as the minimum wage for tipped workers stayed frozen forever. So it's been stuck at $2.13 an hour for the last 22 years, which means that restaurant servers in America suffer from 3 times the poverty rate of the rest of the U.S. workforce and use food stamps at double the rate of the rest of the U.S. workforce. 70% of these workers are women who work at the Red Lobster and Olive Garden, IHOP. Applebee's are not working at fancy fine dining steakhouses. They're actually living in poverty and with very unstable incomes, because they never know how much they're going to make in tips from one night to the next.
Right.
And so, sometimes people hear these things and they say, gosh, I should tip better. But precisely to your point, that if we were to just tip better, we'd continue to subsidize an industry that frankly has struck a deal behind closed doors such that they don't have to pay their own workers' wages. Instead, they're telling Congress and the American public, we shouldn't have to pay our workers' wages. You, customers, you should pay our workers' wages for us. California is different.
Oh, that's a great point, and I wanted to ask you, California does have a different pay scale when it comes to food service workers, right?
Yes, that's right. California is one of 7 states in the country where the minimum wage for tipped and non-tipped workers is the same. It's still pretty low, $8 an hour. It's not livable wages, but it is the same for tipped and non-tipped workers. And California proves that actually you can pay a better wage to tipped workers and still make a profit, because frankly, California has the largest and fastest growing restaurant industry in the nation. So, it really does go to show that raising the wage won't kill these jobs, as the NRA likes to say. On the contrary, you see the states with the highest wages and the cities with the highest wages. San Francisco has the absolute highest minimum wage of any city in the United States. And the industry is thriving in San Francisco. It's growing leaps and bounds. You almost can't, find a corner where there's no restaurant in San Francisco. So it really goes to show that this can be done. We have about 100 employer partners around the country who are great employers, pay thrivable, livable wages. They range from celebrity chefs like Tom Colicchio, star of Top Chef, who's actually a great employer and a great partner, all the way down to small mom-and-pop restaurants around the country who are trying to do the right thing, provide livable wages and working conditions to their workers. They're growing. They're doing great, not in spite of paying their workers well, but because they pay their workers well, because they see that these employees don't leave them. They don't experience as high turnover. They have greater productivity. When you're paid well and treated well, you tend to treat your customers better.
Right.
It makes common sense.
It really does make common sense. I've been fortunate that I've always worked for small family-run operations, or at the most 1 or 2 outlets, a really small chain. I'm wondering how much power these larger chains, like you mentioned, the Olive Garden, Red Lobster, which I believe those 2 are owned by one company.
That's right, yes.
And, your Applebee's, your TGI Fridays, how much pull do those have for the entire restaurant industry when it comes to laws that are made and wages and that sort of thing?
It's a fabulous question. And actually, Olive Garden and Red Lobster, that company is called Darden, and they're the world's largest full-service restaurant company. They own not just Olive Garden and Red Lobster, they own Capitol Grill Steakhouse, and Longhorn Steakhouse, and about 8 other brands, Bahamas Breeze, Seasons 52. And, they're the perfect example. They and other NRA leading corporations, Applebee's, IHOP, McDonald's, Burger King, they don't, they have so much power. They actually set the laws in the United States. They fight against any kind of minimum wage increase. They fight vitriolically against any kind of paid sick days ordinances that would allow these workers the right to take a day off when they're sick. 90% of these workers right now don't have paid sick days, which means 2/3 report cooking, preparing, and serving our food when they're sick with illnesses like hepatitis and typhoid fever and H1N1. These are true stories, some in my book. These are the kinds of things these companies fight for, or fight against, I should say, any kind of increase in minimum wage, any kind of paid sick days ordinances, and that sets standards for the entire industry. So, across the board, you're going to find pretty much low wages, poor benefits in this industry, but I will say that the smaller restaurant companies are pretty much following the standards set by these large chains that, frankly, can afford to do much better. The industry likes to say, we suffer from uniquely thin profit margins. Well, the truth is the restaurant industry nationwide has a 4 to 5% profit margin, which may sound small until you know that Walmart has a 1% profit margin, and they're generally considered to be the most profitable company in the world. So they're doing quite well. They experience 4 to 5 times the profit margin of Walmart, and they're very high-volume restaurants, huge chain, high-volume restaurants, and they still fight tooth and nail to keep workers' wages as low as they possibly can, to keep these workers from having benefits, and it hurts every single one of us who eats out.
We are speaking with Saru Jayaraman. She is the author of Behind the Kitchen Door, also director of the Food Labor Research Center at UC Berkeley, and an organization called ROC United, ROC United.org. Saru, I was wondering, this is just a little fantasy I've played out in my head. What if you could open a restaurant and really advertise the fact that it is, California's first ever tip-free restaurant? Like you actually, there are no tips allowed, and the owners pay the staff a full living wage, and the people eating there know that, so they don't feel guilty that they're not leaving a tip. I don't know, I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more on my bill to not have to worry about that. Am I tipping enough? And someone who's worked in the tip industry, I always worry about that. So I think the eating out process would be far more pleasurable if I could go out to eat and just not. How come no one's ever jumped on that? Like, that just seems like a great marketing move.
Well, they actually have. It's been a little bit of a trend among some of the fanciest fine dining restaurants lately. There's a restaurant in New York called Sushi Yasuda that did it, and a few in California that have been kind of following suit and been picking. There's been this big debate. Okay, so these fancy restaurants are doing it. Should we get rid of tipping altogether? And to me, honestly, that's really not the fundamental question. Whether we get rid of tipping altogether or not, what's really needed is what you said, a stable base, livable wage for these workers, so that they're not wondering, am I going to make $50 tonight or $400 tonight?
Right.
Can I pay the rent this month? Tips go up and down, and your rent doesn't go up and down. Your bills don't go up and down. So really fundamentally, I think the first thing we need to change is force the restaurant industry to pay its own workers' wages like every other industry. And then I think once we do that, I think that's the first thing we need to tackle. Once we do that, then I think we can look at, well, should we get rid of tipping altogether? I really think the key, though, is making sure these workers are treated like the professionals that they are. I'm sure you know from your own experience what hard work this is and
really
how much
hard
skill it takes. And it's not a low skilled job. It's a high skilled job that's not treated with the dignity and respect that it deserves. And the other thing I want to say, you mentioned that, you'd be willing to pay more. And I think this is, again, I know this to be another myth that the industry likes to put out, that if we were to have to raise wages, prices would go way up. Your burger would cost you, $50. It's just not true. We did a study at UC Berkeley with professors from UC Davis also called A Dime a Day, where we looked at if you were to raise the minimum wage for every single worker in the food chain, from farm workers all the way up, as is currently proposed in Congress, how much extra would it cost consumers if employers passed on 100% of that wage increase to customers? And it's called a dime a day because it would literally cost the average American household 10 cents more for all food bought outside of the household. That's grocery and restaurant food.
Wow.
So it's pennies on the dollar for your hamburger to give these workers, tipped workers in particular, a 300% wage increase. So I don't think we need to pay a lot more. We just need to force this industry to do the right thing. And it comes back to your first question, what can consumers do? Not just tip better, frankly, but every time we eat out, at the end of our meal, go up to the manager or the owner and say, I love the food, I love the service, but I want you to know, as a customer, paying livable wages is important to me. Providing paid sick days is critical to my health and the health of my family. And also let our legislators know enough is enough. So we have a petition people can sign to Congress. It's at thewelcometable.net. And over 100,000 people have already signed a petition there to let Congress know enough is enough.
I think that's the way to go. I love that you have all the facts to back it up. The number crunching is all there for you. And so much more in the terrific book, Behind the Kitchen Door. Saru Jayaraman, author of Behind the Kitchen Door. Thank you so much for joining us today on Eat, Drink,
thank
Explore.
You for having me.
All right, stick around, everyone. We are back in just a moment on this Sunday segment. Send an email to radio@eatdrinkexplore.com. We're always looking for fresh ideas, including yours. We love to share fresh, local, organic, seasonal, and sustainable ideas throughout the week. And the best place to find those are on our Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook feeds. Our username across the social networking universe is simple: Eat, Drink, Explore, all one word. Hey, college students, Eat, Drink, Explore Media is always looking for qualified journalism or marketing interns. Send us an email today so we can check your status and put you on the list for upcoming intern vacancies. Would you like to hear this Eat, Drink, Explore radio program on one of your local radio stations? Let the station know and contact us as well so we can get the ball rolling. Okay, you made it. The local affiliate commercial break is now over. Time for more informative and entertaining programming from Eat, Drink, Explore Media. Thank you for your patience. And welcome back to the program, everyone. 9:49 now the time. The final segment here on the Eat, Drink, Explore Sunday Fun Day show. I'm your host, Randall White, joined by Patty Highburn.
Good morning.
And this portion of the Eat, Drink, Explore radio show's second hour is brought to you by the fine folks at Luna Red Restaurant just off Mission Plaza in downtown San Luis Obispo, offering a late night menu and full bar Thursday through Saturday with live entertainment Thursday nights at 10 o'clock and Sundays live on the patio at 3. Whether you're visiting San Luis Obispo or call this stretch of the Central Coast your home, Luna Red is a locavor's dream. For more information, head to lunaredslo.com. I just go on and on about how much I love this restaurant. Patty, 1 week ago today, we were out there on the patio enjoying brunch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we were sweating up a storm. It was so humid last Sunday. Do you remember?
Oh, gosh, hot and humid,
But boy, that's turned around, and now we have that wonderful dry California climate that we love. Today would be the perfect day for bottomless mimosa brunch out on the Luna Red patio. lunaredslo.com. All right, you cannot hit up a tap room or a bar or a grocery store, you name it, without seeing Firestone Walker Beer on tap just about everywhere throughout California. Firestone Walker has grown to become, if I hope I have this figure right, California's 4th largest craft brewery, and more expansion plans are on the horizon. To find out about those and everything that Firestone's got going on right now, we welcome one of the founders, the Walker in Firestone Walker, David Walker, back to the program. He joined us a little more than a year ago to talk about some of the things going on up there. So nice to have you back on the show, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
So I was looking through the LA Times yesterday or the day before, and I saw an article that Firestone is opening a brew house in, is it Venice Beach?
We are, absolutely. Technically it's not a brew house. I mean, our brew house is in Paso Robles, and all of our brewing is done in Paso Robles. What we've done is your introduction was very flattering, but yeah, we've been very successful in the sort of central coast of California, and the next area that's really embraced this is Southern California. And, craft brewing is all about regional brewing. It's all about connecting with, the consumer and the authenticity of a sort of an artisanal beer. And so we just wanted to be able to tell our story a little better down in LA. And we ended up selecting Venice Beach, which has got a very cool vibe.
It does.
You never know. Maybe we'll get a little groovier.
Could rub off on you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a great way to introduce yourself to the Southern California community if they have a physical location they can go to be face-to-face with people. It's a great marketing plan. Plus, I'm sure you'll be jam-packed like you are in your other locations.
Well, hopefully we will. But really, it's a lot of it's about telling our story. We are going to have a sort of a visitor center and a place where people can understand what we're doing as a brewery and try some of the range of beers that we make, and obviously somewhere you can eat and then fill a growler and throw it on your bike and cycle it back to your wherever you live. But
David, if you can get a growler, as I understand it, under California's somewhat confusing growler laws,
right,
that you do have to have is it that you have to brew on site and you also are a distributor? You're not just a brew pub?
I think probably it's you're right. It's completely confusing and very difficult to understand. But the best way to look at it is that the new growler laws basically protect the concept of labeling. And so what the state doesn't want people doing is, for instance, some friends of mine have got a brewery up in Sonoma, Russian River, and so what they don't want is someone who just had a nice, Pliny the Elder in their growler to come down to my brewery and me put Union Jack in that, and that person's walking around with a growler that says this is Pliny the Elder, and when it's obviously not. It's Union Jack. So the whole idea is that you couldn't actually fill your growler unless it came from that brewery. So now they've just got a bunch of new labeling requirements. So you can bring another brewery's growler to my pub, but I'm going to have to plaster it with labels saying it's mine.
Make it very clear, no confusion.
As you can see, it's a very long and confusing subject.
Yes, we've had whole segments on it.
Yes. What I have noticed is that the 805 beer that you all are making, I am seeing that everywhere. That seems to be really growing in popularity right now.
Yeah, is it just
Just
popular
here on the Central
outside
Coast?
the 805 zip area code?
It's an extraordinary beer for us. It came as a complete surprise, and we made it sort of as a nod to our local market. And it's a pretty interesting phenomenon. I think, to me, the fascinating thing, and about 80% of the beer last year that was drunk in America was sort of light American pilsners, or sort of commercialized imported beers with similar flavor profile. And I think what's happening is the people who've been drinking those beers, who, for instance, weren't ready to switch to a full-bodied IPA, are able now to switch to something like the 805, which is a nice sort of dimensional craft brewed blonde blonde ale, but still sort of feel like they haven't strayed too far. But they're sort of on the journey towards that big American IPA, and we've been completely surprised by the support that we've had for it. You can find it outside of the 805 because a lot of it's getting literally bootlegged out, and people drive in vans and pick it up. And
You're even having an 805 festival out at one of our favorite locations, Avila Beach, California, just north of Pismo Beach, for those not from the area. And it'll involve music and clearly the beer as well. So you're taking it and running with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, no, we're not going to, what do they say, look a gift horse in the mouth?
Exactly.
I mean, if the customers like the 805, we're going to keep making it. And, it's it's fresh beer, it's locally made, and it's a pleasing experience, so why not, keep it rolling.
So you probably have your plate full with the expansion to Venice Beach, but I have to tell you, we have friends, Randall and I, they went to college here in San Luis Obispo, and then they worked here because they didn't want to go away. But they're hoping that you bring one to Northern California, up in the Bay Area where they're working now.
That is true, yes. Any plans to go north?
Not at the moment.
One thing at a time.
We've got our hands full. I mean, you talk about being the fourth largest brewery in California. That doesn't say a lot. That says a lot about how few breweries there are of any real size. We've got our hands full building out the existing brewery and doing what we're trying to do in Southern Cal.
Keep up the great work. David Walker, one of the founders of Firestone Walker Brewing. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll see you here next week.
You've been listening to the Eat, Drink, Explore radio program. If you missed any of our segments today, look for them online or through our free Apple and Android apps. Catch you back right here next week.
The Eat, Drink, Explore Media radio show you are currently